Law and economics has provided fairly well worked out mathematical tools for analyzing risk. A simple example is the learned hand formula, which says that a duty of care is owed in tort law if and only if P times L is greater than C, where P is the probability of loss, L is the size of the loss, and C is the cost of taking care. This quantified probability of loss, P, is a classic measure of risk. The formula is named after Judge Learned Hand, who's got to have one of the coolest bench names. He's kind of the Elon Musk of judging. And his brother, Augustus Hand, was also a judge. At Yale, we have a running group called the Learned Feet that I run with. But back to risk. When things are at risk in this kind of measurable sense, risk-averse people will be willing to pay for insurance to mitigate or eliminate the risk. Economists have developed quantitative measures of risk aversion, as well as fairly developed theories of the two primary obstacles to insurance markets: adverse selection and moral hazard. With adverse selection, people who know themselves to have higher risks of claiming are more likely to buy insurance. With moral hazard, people who have bought insurance are less likely to take care and hence increase the probability of claiming on their insurance. But in contrast to the concept of risk with known measurable probabilities, Frank Knight has emphasized the distinct concept of uncertainty. Knightian uncertainty is a kind of risk that is immeasurable, not possible to calculate. Knight said, "Uncertainty must be taken in a sense radically distinct from the familiar notion of risk, from which it has never been properly separated. The essential fact is that risk means in some cases a quantity susceptible of measurement, while at other times it is something distinctly not of this character, and there are far-reaching and crucial differences in the bearings of the phenomena depending on which of the two is really present and operating." Unquote. It's now a standard move in law whenever someone draws implications from quantitative models of risks, such as the learned hand formula, to ask whether the law should also be concerned with uncertainty as well. Indeed, the precautionary principle can be thought of as an approach to uncertainty management with regard to environmental safety issues. The principle, which has been adopted in the EU and to some extent in the United States, is a kind of better to be safe than sorry idea. The principle comes in many forms, but it resonates with the idea of uncertainty because it tends to mandate taking precaution when some cause or effect of safety regulation is not well estimated. Law and economics scholars tend to critique and limit the normative implications of uncertainty and the precautionary principle. Cass Sunstein, for example, has argued that the precautionary principle taken to its extreme would be stultifying. We could never have allowed Wi-Fi or laptops or cell phones since we can't be 100% sure that it will not cause some negative health effects. The distinction between risk and uncertainty might also be at play with the legal concept of unforeseeability, which will play a role in the torts and contracts doctrines that you'll study in your first year. In two cases that are so well known that like Madonna and Beyonce, they often go by a single name, Palsgraf and Baxendale. These cases cut off liability for unforeseeable risks. But there's a sense that this unforeseeability, what is not capable of being foreseen, may still give rise to a disquiet that Knight would have thought of when he wrote about uncertainty. And finally, for members of the CrossFit cult, you might relate the risk and uncertainty distinction to Glassman's insistence on a difference between the unknown and the unknowable.